Windmill. Guys, the typical version of this is done standing. My setup is pretty straightforward. I'm gonna get my weight overhead and I'm gonna start with my feet roughly shoulder width and then turn them out to about 45 degrees away from the arm that has the weight. Now this movement is about the hips and the shoulders kind of working together. I'm gonna make sure that when I'm coming down, I'm gonna try and push my hips away from the direction I'm leaning. I'm gonna rotate my chest through and turn my hand in at the top as I slide my bottom hand down towards the floor like this. Now it's important, guys, that I keep my eyes on the weight overhead, not looking down, to keep the weight kind of freely floating around over me like so. Now from there, guys, it's important to note with our start position that we may have some limitations with flexibility through the legs and hips. So when I do that kind of turn, I can start by still kicking the hips back, but I can keep both knees bent like this as I turn my chest. As I get more flexible, I can then leave that to just the front knee can bend, and then over time, both knees will stay straight. From the shoulder, again, it's important to understand that when I'm in this position, I'm really trying to give my shoulder enough space to move. So I need to make sure that as my chest changes position, my hand rotates in as well. Notice how my thumb turns forward in this position, just like that. I come down with the chest, I have to rotate through with my hand, still pushing the weight away from me at all times through that range of motion. Now, regressions, guys, again, if that top shoulder is a limiting factor or we're just trying to pattern this properly, we can go from a bottom hand loaded. So if I set up facing the other way, feet pointing away, I'm gonna have my weight in the bottom hand. And even though there's no weight overhead when I come through, I still wanna work that shoulder turning in as I have this position here. Again, I'm gonna keep my eyes up on my top hand to kind of pattern that up and just find the floor with the weight as I come through like so. From here, guys, we can take this in two directions for progression. Number one is I can increase the load. So what I can do is I can kind of start with my hand overhead and have both hands in play. Again, eyes are up. This is just gonna, again, keep that range of motion a little bit more narrow, but also increase the load through my trunk and my hips as I move through. Our other option, guys, is to increase our range of motion. So if I change hands from here, go in the other direction, nice and simple. Instead of just finding the fingertips, where I come through, hand slides down here, I can then start to explore more range of motion by bringing my palm down or no hands at all and getting as deep as I possibly can and then pushing back up. We wouldn't push the load there. It's more about that range of motion. And that'll be our windmill.